Okay, I figured it out. Took me a long time, but I did. So what you do if you run into that same thing I was running into where the countdown timer is expired and it still says you don't own a tile, you just right click on your territory unit here and click on this refresh territory rights. And that should get you all fixed up. And I've placed my core over here. I don't actually want to admit how long it took me to figure this out. Also, I moved my ship. Oh good, it's still in range. So the way you build stuff in this game is you find your core and you click on your B key while you're aiming at it, and then your build tools come up, and just like your other non-build tools, these can be rearranged and replaced, and I think these actually all fit. I think there's only the 9 build tools. 1, 2, that's not 1. Oh yeah, it is. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. And I don't remember what the default is because I've changed it a bunch. But my 2 is the voxel tool. And that's how you put down voxels. And some like computer people, they know what a voxel is, but I didn't know what a voxel was till I started this game. But apparently it's just telling the game how to define a space in the game. And so what you do is so I use your basic crafter, which you go into with the key, the K key. And what you want to do is you want to go into materials, and then honeycomb materials, and then pure, and then there's the 4 pure, or if you have access to some of these brick, carbon fiber, plastic, steel, wood. Oh, pure. I'm in iron. And there's these different like types of iron you can make. And I made galvanized white iron for no particular reason. So you craft that, and then of course later there's a machine that does this that can crank out a whole much more than you can. And honeycomb is what you use for your voxels. And it's pretty straightforward. What I'm doing here is I'm building a floor so I can start laying down some of the factory stuff that I brought with me. So I can start working on my outpost. And then the 1 key drops down my light. What this game calls elements, which I think basically translates to things that do things. Okay, so we'll start with these refiners, which turn ore into ingots. They also do some other things, like they make wood and they make concrete, but we're not worried about that right now. You can use the U key to do what they call smart target. That basically just allows you to create symmetry. See, it lights up yellow when it's lined up. And this is all stuff you'll find out in the tutorial if you play it. Now I came here to harvest mostly chromite, so I can get chromium, so I can make stainless steel. But I'm gonna need the 4 basic elements to build the outpost. So I'm gonna need 4 of these, plus the 2 tier 2 refiners, chromite and limestone, which make chromium and calcium. If you double click on something in here while you're in the place element tool, it just adds it to the quick, I don't know what they call it, quick access, I guess. It's a temporary spot. So what I like to do is, and of course you're not going to have access to these big boxes to start with, but you will, is I like to sit down a big box so I can drop my ores into it. And the more advanced factories will have multiple big boxes linked together for this purpose. And then I just kind of blew through that, didn't I? So the way it works is, like in Satisfactory you have belts. Well, in this game you have links. And a box, I think, has 8 output links and 8 input links. So you go to your link tool and you click on the thing you want to link from, and then 2, and see it turns red because it's already linked. And then you can see those links I just did. And those serve the purpose as conveyor belts. So anything I put in here will be available to these refiners. So I'll open my box here, and I'll put in the ore I've been mining instead of figuring out how to fix my territory. So these are the raw ores that I've mined while I was standing around doing nothing else. Now I need an output box for these. And you can output these all into one big box. And I did that for a while and it seemed really clever, but it ended up not working because I ran out of links for other stuff. And if you play the game and you start building a factory, you'll see what I'm talking about pretty quick. Okay, link tool, from, to, from, to, from, to, uh-oh, oh, from, to, and from, to. You go back to your first guy here, and you go into your recipes. Pure. Like I said, you can make concrete and stuff in here. Wood, you need carbon and oxygen. Concrete, calcium, carbon, silicon. Marble, which I've never bothered to make. Maybe I will, since I have all that stuff here. Brick, also I've never bothered to make. That's not what we're doing right now. We're doing the basic stuff. Iron. Apply. Now these numbers are not going to look like your numbers, because I've leveled this stuff up quite a bit. Apply. So now you can run, and this will just run until it runs out of space in the output box. Or you can choose make. Now, when you're making something that's like one of these refiners or an assembly line or a wing for an airplane, it'll just make however many you tell it here. But this is actually runs. So if you make 1 of this, it'll make 405 iron and 135 oxygen. So if you want 20,000 iron and you type in 20,000 here, you're not going to get 20,000 iron. You're going to get 20,000 runs of 405 iron, assuming, of course, you have enough of this ore to supply it and enough room in your output box to do that. And then maintain is not the same as runs. So if you want to keep 20,000 iron sitting around, you'd want to use this maintain and type in 20,000. And in the past, I've usually done maintain for this stuff, but for this base, I think I'm just going to do infinity and limit it with the size of the box. This container S only holds 11,000 liters and some change. And when you're starting out, that's going to sound like a lot. but it's not. So processing time 3 minutes. That's 3 minutes per run, and then you see the numbers change again, and I'm not sure if they're going to clean this up later, but that's the way it is now. So this guy, recipe, pure, basic, carbon, apply. See, notice it's going to make 405, it's going to consume 585 until, boom. And then you can go to containers, this deal here, and it'll show you how much coal you have in the receiving container. Did iron already, didn't I? Aluminum. Now I'm going to do the two uncommon materials that appear on this planet, which are calcium. See, it takes limestone, which I haven't found any yet. And chromium. Takes chromite, makes chromium and iron. Also, haven't found any yet. So the next thing you're going to need, and you know, when you're starting out, you're going to be harvesting these stupid little rocks on the surface, and that's going to suck. You're going to want to not do that as quickly as possible. But these are smelters, which turn the stuff you're making out of the refiners into more useful stuff. Come on. And I only brought 4. Now, this takes iron and carbon to make steel. Metals, alpha, aluminum, and iron. Psyllium. I wonder if this is a real thing. It probably is, but I've never heard of it, so I'm going to say no. So the psyllium, the alpha alloy, and the steel are the 3 materials you can make out of the 4 basic ores. And they're going to provide you with basically everything you need to make your basic factory stuff. And then later on, you'll need the more complicated stuff. But I suppose I should put down some containers for those guys. Let's see here, did I bring any mediums? I did. Now this is all temporary. I'm going to rearrange all of this later. This is just right now to get stuff going. So this is steel, takes iron and carbon. Pretty sure it's these 2 guys. Iron, card. Excellent. Oops. Alpha, which is iron. Oops. And aluminum. And aluminum and silicon. Now, this is where I might want to do a maintain instead of an infinite, because I'm using iron to make my honeycomb, so I don't necessarily want to suck down on my iron. But I will need steel before too long. Start making the parts I need to make more factory. Oops, it's already in there. So I think I'll do the maintain for this, and I'll do 1,000 to start with. I really need to make a honeycomb machine. I got so used to having them around. These are your metalwork machines, and they do your lion's share of parts building. So this guy is going to make screws, basic screws. You're going to use a lot of these. This guy's going to make basic pipes. Going to make a lot of those. So the screws need steel. Pretty sure that was that top guy. Mm-hmm. These guys need psyllium. That'll be this guy. Oops. Nailing to the wrong thing. And if you're ever wondering how to undo something in this game, it's almost always you hold down the Alt key and then do the same thing you were trying to do, only with Alt key. I'll use excess boxes for these. Now when you get around to building your factory, how I decide what kind of container to use on the output depends a lot on the batch size farther down the pipe, but early on, just look at how much volume this is going to take up. So this takes up produce volume 20 liters. And then that's per batch, right? So the batch of 20 takes 20 liters. And you open this up, and if you hover over the bar, it'll tell you. Now the basic one I think is 1,000 liters, but because my skills have leveled this, I'm up to 1,400 liters is what it holds. So it can hold, I don't know, however many batches that is, the screws. In very few parts, until you start getting into the really big complicated stuff, we're going to use more screws than that box can hold. Same with pipes. And this just keeps increasing in complexity. As you can see, you got the electronics factories. That's chemicals, which makes fuels and plastics and some other things. 3D printer. And then your assembly lines, which come in XS, which is extra small, small, medium, large, and extra large. And your assemblers make the actual functioning stuff out of these parts that these guys and the electronics and other factories are making. So your assemblers, they make these metalwork machines, and they make these smelters, and they make the refiners, and they make these containers, and they make the ship parts. And you can build other machines that do other things. Oops. And this is just the real, very tippity tip of the iceberg of this game. There's Lua scripting, which a lot of people are excited about, and that's way over my head. There's logic circuits you can create with logic parts. Do I have any of those? I don't think I brought any of those. Oh yeah, manual switch, that's part of it. Ooh, I should place my resurrection node. What do you think about that? Let's do it. Seems like a good idea at the time, right? There. If you don't have one of these, and you haven't activated it in a location of your choosing, you'll resurrect in the market. And those places are laggy, and they suck, and I don't like being there. One last thing, I think, before I close this out, because this is going to turn into a pretty long video, is I'm going to go check my pore scanner on my ship. And this is a fairly advanced part, and I'm pretty noobish at this. A lot of people will put 3 of them on a bigger ship so they can scan 3 tiles at a time. I don't mess with that because I'm not that prolific of a miner. But I'll go ahead and show it to you since it should be done. These things take 15 minutes, and you can't move them, which is why I was worried about having moved my ship earlier. Alright. Oh no, did I forget to turn it on? Oh no. Anyways, they make these scanner results, which then show you how much ore is in a tile that you've scanned. Now this is the tile I own, and these are not big numbers. So, and I don't know if this is atypical for this planet or not, but like back on the home planet, you're typically getting at numbers in about 500,000 range for basic ores at least. But 80,000 liters of chromite's not bad, and 17,000 liters limestone also not bad. And then these 2 guys, which I'm honest, I don't know what you use them for. They're above my pay grade. I got a chunk of those too, so that's not bad either. But yeah, the quartz, coal, hematite, and bauxite, you typically see in the neighborhood of 500,000 liters of those on Alioth per tile. And I don't know if that's normal for the game, for the non-core planets, or if I just happen to pick a bad tile. Then you can set destination so you can go there later. You see I have some others at home. And I'm going to leave it at that, man, because this has turned into a pretty long video. I hope this piques some people's interest. And I'll talk to you next time.